Kirkpatrick makes it clear that in order to do proper evaluation at all four levels, you must first consider level 4 and proceed backwards from there. We start by asking what outcomes are strategically important to the organization, level 4, and then we ask what the organization needs for support to ensure training transfer occurs and outcomes are successfully reached, level 3. We follow this by addressing what knowledge, skills, and abilities we need to see mastered to ensure learning occurred, level 2, and finally, how to design the training program to ensure the environment is conducive to learning. In order for good level 4 evaluation to occur, the company needs a systematic strategic focus and plan. Transparency and clear communication on the company's strategic vision is essential so everyone is on board. The key to transfer of training is based here because without clear strategy, it's difficult to align training to strategy and difficult then to support the transfer of learning to the job. Successful training transfer requires a leadership team that supports the learning process. In order to ensure training transfer occurs, leaders must be ready to help facilitate learning that will have an impact at the strategic level. It is essential to first ensure that the company has a vision for what it wants from its leaders. Leaders need to inspire a shared vision, enable others to act by fostering collaboration and model good behavior and celebrate accomplishments. Kirkpatrick and Kirkpatrick argue that a balanced leadership approach is necessary to facilitate training transfer. Leaders must provide support and encouragement and demand accountability. Setting expectations while also providing support to get the work done is an important balance any leader should master. Training transfer is, at its core, change management. In order for trainees to change their old behaviors by participating in training and embracing new behaviors, a system that facilitates change management must be put into place. First, the case for change needs to be made. If top managers are on board with these changes, they're more likely to help facilitate the training transfer process. If we don't consider training transfer within the confines of a change management process, the roadblocks and barriers common to change management efforts will inhibit transferring the skills learned to the job. A measurement system needs to be in place to facilitate assessment. Training evaluation at levels 3 and 4 naturally follows from the means organizations use to measure whether or not strategy was successful. One way to clearly define strategy and develop a structure within which to measure effectiveness is to use a process like the balanced scorecard. Once the organization chooses a measurement system, a training evaluation plan is developed accordingly. You cannot measure level 3 and 4 training evaluation unless you've attended to effective training levels 1 and level 2. Trainees need clear expectations about what they will learn, why they will learn it, and how the learning will take place and be used on the job. In advancing to level 3, our concern shifts to whether the training had an impact on the job and on an organization's outcomes. Level 3 evaluation has a strategic importance to the organization because changes in behavior are the ultimate goal of training interventions. If the training does not impact on-the-job behavior, the money invested has been wasted and organizational goals will not be accomplished. One of the biggest contributors to poor training outcomes is a context that does not support practicing and utilizing the training information obtained. For training to be successful, the trainee must have clear expectations, the right skills, and a willingness to do well, and the organization must create an environment that encourages the right behavior. Reward systems, resources, and time to practice new material are necessary for classroom lessons to transfer to on-the-job behaviors. The importance of ensuring a context conducive for transfer of training cannot be overestimated. In the initial Kirkpatrick model, level 3 is the extent to which participants apply what they've learned during the training when they return to the job. Simply put, how often does the trainee use the training on the job? If employees fail to exhibit the critical behaviors, several things may have occurred. First, the training may not have been focused on the most important aspects of the job. a failure of needs analysis and training design. Second, the trainees may not have properly learned what was offered in the training program, a failure of the instructional design process. Lastly, the trainees may have learned the proper knowledge and skills, but did not receive the contextual support to practice and internalize the new information while on the job. It's important to assess whether or not the training program appropriately identified the knowledge and skill gap and designed the training program accordingly. Managers, coworkers, HR, top management, and all support staff must work in concert to encourage, reinforce, monitor, and reward new knowledge and skills on a regular basis. Researchers argue that with a proper system in place to facilitate transfer of learning to the workplace, organizations can expect up to an 85% success rate of transfer. Moving from the classroom to workplace practice requires the assistance of experienced peers and supervisors who ensure that the trainees practice what they learned on the job. Once trainees return to their job after training, they should be regularly monitored to ensure they're using the knowledge and skills expected. The simplest way to monitor training on the job is through observation. Level 4 evaluation, based on the strategic impact of training outcomes, is the single most important aspect to measure, yet tends to be the least utilized and understood. While organizational departments and divisions can assess how training interventions impact their own goals, ultimately the most important outcome is the impact of training on the entire organization's mission and goals. If organizations neglect Level 3 evaluation, Level 4 evaluation becomes a challenge because it's impossible to link the training intervention with the organizational outcome and unclear if the training improved on-the-job behavior. Because training may not have an impact for a few years, organizations can't just focus on immediate results. They must investigate leading indicators to ensure the organization is trending in the direction of long-term goals. In choosing leading indicators to assess, it's necessary to ensure the indicator has an impact, short or long term, on the bottom line results important to the organization. If an indicator will affect the organization's mission and overall goals, it should be assessed regularly to monitor short and long-term training success. Transfer of training can be broken down into two basic categories: near transfer and far transfer. Near transfer assumes that the job conditions to which the transfer is occurring are similar to training conditions. For example, shadowing somebody when you start a new job to see how the work's done. Far transfer assumes that the training must generalize learned skills from the training session to different settings, people, or situations, as well as assumes maintenance of the learned skills over time. It makes sense that the most ideal circumstance for training to result in perfect or close to perfect transfer would be those conditions identical to the training session itself. Many models have attempted to predict the specific factors that influence transfer of training. Broadly speaking, these models address the most important considerations when designing and implementing a training program to ensure training transfer has the greatest likelihood to succeed. Using a validated measure to assess learning transfer can aid training professionals in assessing Level 3 training evaluation. Personality is a big predictor of training transfer success, and the Big 5 personality traits play an equally big role in transfer of training. Characteristics like conscientiousness, agreeableness, and extroversion have a positive impact on motivation to improvement of work through learning. Trainees' motivation and their trainability is dependent on the belief that their direct responsibility for results, belief that training will lead to desired personal results, willingness to manage their own career, and openness to feedback. Self-efficacy is also an important variable to consider in trainees. Research indicates that trainees' self-efficacy can have a positive impact on both learning in the training program and training transfer. A variety of pre-training conditions and experiences affect learning transfer. When attendance is voluntary, trainee entry motivation and learning improve. How the program is advertised or positioned to the trainees also has an impact. When realistic training information is provided, trainees have more positive attitudes towards the training and are more eager to learn. Finally, the role of trainee supervisors should not be underestimated. When supervisors are apprised of how to best support the training process, transfer is more likely to occur. The more the organization's climate or culture supports training transfer in word and action, the greater the likelihood that training will transfer to the job. Culture and climate can make or break any workplace change. In training, the organization has to demonstrate its willingness to encourage both supervisor and peer support during training. Although training transfer does not automatically occur post-training, the likelihood of transfer is enhanced when the training program results in necessary learning expected of trainees. When we space out cognitive training, this increases the likelihood of training transfer. Following internal training with regular refreshers to help trainees learn more complex concepts and tasks eases the cognitive load. If trainees do not have the opportunity to utilize their new skills and knowledge on the job, training transfer is almost certain not to occur. Even with the best of intentions, without support from the supervisor giving them the opportunity to practice their new skills or support from coworkers, there's no chance for training to be integrated into their on-the-job behavior. Providing follow-up meetings for trainees may allow them an opportunity to discuss problems they might be having and brainstorm ways to overcome challenges. Once the organization has finished training and gathered all the data, the process of interpreting the evaluation of data begins. Some information is received immediately after training, providing initial evaluations of level 1 and level 2, while other data may take longer to assess as expected with some key strategic metrics. Once data are received, there is no benefit to sit on it and wait until all the data come in to analyze and make changes. By gathering and analyzing in a conscientious and continuous fashion, the trainers can quickly assess the changes needed based on the data. When assessing level 2 learning, end of session knowledge and skill assessment will indicate the extent to which trainees learn the necessary level of skill to demonstrate mastery. If trainees did not learn as expected based on the learning objectives, the instructional design team must diagnose and make changes immediately while the feedback is fresh, rather than wait until implementation of the next training session. Regardless of the level of evaluation, the Kirkpatricks recommend 3 basic questions to ask once the analysis is done and you have the result in front of you. Does this result meet our expectations? If not, or why not, and if so, why? Understanding the expectations and examining your results is the central part of training evaluation. It's important you ask yourself not only why the results don't meet the standards, but also why and how they do meet the standards. Understanding why a training program was successful enables trainers to duplicate those results. Understanding why it was not successful enables trainers to learn from their mistakes and improve training programs. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to training evaluation standards. Each standard set by the organization should consider factors such as industry norms, company strategy, and stage of intervention. Once an organization considers a variety of contextual factors that impact the expectations, internal benchmarks should be established with an eye towards continuous improvement. After analyzing data and drawing conclusions, the next question is who needs to know this information? Typically, Level 1 and Level 2 analysis targets instructional designers and trainers to improve program delivery and development. Trainee supervisors and management need Level 3 metrics to improve training choices for their direct reports, provide better support and accountability for trainees on the job, and improve overall trainee performance. Training leaders can use Level 4 to ensure training aligns with strategy and reduce costs by removing training programs that don't align properly. Executives use Level 4 metrics to communicate the company's strategy to focus training and reinforcement efforts. When determining measures such as return on investment and other financial metrics, it's important to consider the totality of training costs. Training costs include preparation time for trainers, administrative support for training and development, rental costs for space or equipment needed, trainee wages and instructor salaries, handouts, food, and equipment needed. If the training occurs off-site or requires some degree of travel, transportation, meals, lodging, and other expenses for attendees should be considered as well. Along with identifying training costs, organizations should consider potential revenue streams or productivity improvements. If outsiders are allowed to attend the training, fees can be charged to external participants. Lastly, the organization should consider the range of productivity improvements targeted by the training program. Sales and productivity changes, accident rates, and wear and tear on equipment are among the factors to be considered in calculating program benefits or return.